This video is about multiplying and dividing integers, which you should remember are positive and negative whole numbers. In order to multiply or divide two integers, you just need to know two rules. The first one is that if they have the same sign, the two numbers you're multiplying or dividing, then your answer will be positive. So if they're both positive or both negative, you're going to get a positive answer. If the two numbers have a different sign, so one's positive and one's negative, your answer is going to be negative. So down at the bottom here, if we multiply and divide, in number 1, we're multiplying negative 4 times 7. Whenever you see parentheses, that means multiplication. So since we have our two numbers, we're multiplying them together. 4 times 7 is 28. And because they have different signs, a negative 4 and a positive 7, our answer is negative. On the other hand, in number 2, when we're taking negative 56 and dividing it by negative 8, that's a case where they have the same sign. They're both negative, so we get a positive answer. So 56 divided by 8 is 7, and because it was negative divided by negative, we get a positive. In number 3, we're dividing again. The fraction is the same thing as dividing. 12 divided by negative 2. So when you divide 12 by 2, you get 6. And since one number, the 12, is positive and another is negative, they have different signs. So you're going to have a negative answer. So our answers are negative 28, 7, and negative 6. Now, what happens when you multiply or divide more than two numbers? When you multiply together negative 2 and negative 2, we know we're going to get a positive 4 because we multiplied two numbers with the same sign, so the answer is positive. If we multiply together 3 negative 2's, these two, negative times negative, gives you positive 4, but now we take positive 4 and multiply it by a negative 2, so we get negative 8. If we multiply 4 negative 2's together, these first 3 we know are negative 8, but then negative 8 times negative 2 would be a positive, since we've got negative times negative, positive 16. If we multiply 5 negative 2's together, the first 4 are going to be positive 16, and then we multiply positive 16 times negative 2. That means we're going to get a negative answer, and it's going to be 32. So what's going on here is that basically every pair of negative 2's cancels out the negative signs. So here we have 2 negative 2's. The negative and the negative cancel each other out. So 2 negative 2's make a positive. In this problem, we've got one pair of negative 2's here and another pair of negative 2's here. So those negative signs cancel out to get a positive answer. So what we see is that the product of an even number of negative numbers is positive. So every pair, you'll still get a positive number. But in the problems where we multiplied together odd numbers of negative 2's, here and here, we have a pair and then an extra negative 2. So the pair gives us a positive, but the extra negative 2 makes the answer negative. In this problem, we have the 5 negative 2's, so we've got a pair of negative 2's positive, another pair positive, and then an extra one, so our answer is negative. So that means that when you're multiplying together an odd number of negative numbers, the answer is going to be negative because there is one extra negative that doesn't get canceled out. The last thing we need to talk about in multiplying and dividing is special properties of 0, 1, and negative 1. If we look at this problem right here, which is long and complicated looking, we've got 126 times 20 times 4 times 10 times negative 78 times 0. Something that you should remember about multiplying by 0 is that when you multiply by 0, no matter what you're multiplying, the answer is always 0. So because there's this 1 0 in here, it cancels everything out, and the answer is 0. When you multiply by 1, so 126 times 1, we know the answer is just 126. So what happens here is that when you multiply a number by 1, the answer is just that original number. So when you multiply by 1, there's no change. On the other hand, if we took 126 and multiplied by negative 1, the answer would be negative 126. So here what's happened is the actual number hasn't changed, but the sign has changed. So when you multiply by -1 in a problem, it won't change anything about the actual numbers, but it will definitely change the sign. Now that you know the rules for multiplying and dividing with positives and negatives and these special properties, you're ready to practice.